Hello, I'm Tamsin Thomas and I'd like to welcome you to St Julia's Hospice in Hale. It's one of two hospices that we at Cornwall Hospice Care run, and this is a very special week for us because it's National Hospice Care Week and we want to celebrate what it is that we do for the people of Cornwall. I want to take you back to August when we had an inspirational patient called Terry come in. And one of the things Terry said to us was that until he was actually in the hospice, he knew very little about what we did or how we did it or why we were even there. And that got us thinking about, should we be opening the doors virtually, if you like, to show people what it is that makes our care so special. So we sat down and we called on our Director of Clinical Services to come in. We sat her on a chair and we said to her, right, what makes Cornwall Hospice Care and hospice care itself so very different and special? And she used one word. She said, time. So I'd like to introduce Gina Starnes now, who's our guest this morning, to just work on that and flesh it out, if you like. What is time in the context of hospice care?
Morning, Tamsin, and it's lovely to be here. It was a bit warmer, I think, when we met in August. But for me, actually, time is the one thing that we have that we're often able to give to patients here at the hospice. And actually, we do that when sometimes our patients don't have a lot of time. So actually, we have to be skilled at getting that right information at the right pace to those patients and their families to make sure that they can make the best of the time that they have with us.
You talked to us about individualised care. Now that to me seems very important. It is about putting the person first, isn't it?
It is. It's very much about trying to look at what the patient and the family wants or needs at that very difficult time, and to be able to guide that family. Sometimes patients want to do very different things to what we would say would be a traditional clinical pathway, but actually it's about us being able to work with patients and families and our clinical team here to actually make that as right as we can.
Now we're going to be talking to different people through this week about the ways in which time makes a difference to them. We're going to hear one podcast where the theme is very much about the time to do something as simple as holding someone's hand. Is that what we're talking about? Not just the grand gestures, but the little things.
I think it's all of that right the way through, and actually being with somebody at the very end of their life is an absolute privilege, and it's a time that you don't get again. And actually, you know, in these strange times when actually patients aren't able to always have all of their family near, I think the clinical team here, the nursing team particularly, are the people that are here 24 hours a day at both hospices. So absolutely being with the patient so that they aren't alone, so that they can feed back to families, and also, you know, sometimes those phone calls if families can't get in at the minute to say, actually, yes, your loved one had a good night or had, you know, scrambled egg for breakfast or had a sip of juice. Actually, it's that bit of information that our staff take the time to tell people that makes a huge difference. And then at the other end of the scale, we can be doing all sorts. We've arranged for people to perhaps go and see their, you know, favourite football team or their rugby team, or, you know, arrange weddings. We've done that before, and it's those things that people think perhaps are impossible in the situation that they're in, that actually our staff will usually give it a go.
Now we've been here 24/7 throughout the pandemic, as have our NHS colleagues. Time obviously is something that they don't have the privilege of quite as much, do they? So is this something that's very precious to the people who work for us, to the volunteers who help us?
I think for us it's about having all those people who are able to come together and make that time happen. So absolutely, it's how people answer the phone, how they pick the phone up when they are met by our volunteers at reception. It's about our volunteer staff on the clinical units who are able to let clinical staff have that clinical time with families, or you know, when they're kind of, you know, discussing cases and working with our colleagues in the community and in the hospital. Because actually there is a lot of time that's taken up on those clinical or medical things that actually are away from the bedside. So absolutely, it's about everybody working together.
Well, we wanted to work together, and we wanted to say to you that the campaign this week is called We Have the Time Too, and then different themes will follow on. And we wanted to start by saying we have the time to show you the wonderful courtyard here at St Julia's Hospice, but it's looking a bit grey and a bit miserly today. You can actually just see the roses and the water features, and this usually is an absolute haven. It's just a shame that winter has come before autumn in Cornwall this year. So We Have the Time To allows us to share with you this week podcasts, blogs, live broadcasts like this, where we will talk about the various ways in which time helps and how our patients can benefit from that gift of time. And we hope you'll be with us right the way through the week. Tomorrow is a very big day for us because we celebrate tomorrow our 40th anniversary. I use the word celebrate very loosely. It will be a very muted celebration of 40 years of Mount Edgecombe Hospice and 21 years of this beautiful building here at St Julia's. And we hope that you'll be with us throughout the week, finding out more about what hospice care really is. In the meantime, we have running alongside Terry's bed appeal. You may remember at the very start of this, I told you about Terry, an inspirational patient who was with us until he passed away. And there is now an appeal being run to keep his bed at Mount Edgecombe and a bed here at St Julia's open for the next 6 months. And now more than ever, after all the issues we've had with all our shops being closed at one point and our fundraising activities curtailed, we need your help. So please take a look at the appeal. Join us for Hospice Care Week. We Have the Time To by visiting our website, cornwallhospicecare.co.uk. And later today, look out for the podcast with the senior nursing sister from St Julia's here, Elaine Potter, talking about how time makes a difference to her. And also a blog later on today from our chief executive, talking about how we have time to value everyone.